we've covered the general overview of the mounts and the hardware that comes with them, and I think from this point it's just time to get to installing them onto a motor and into a car. We'll try and go over each mount individually and all the options that that you may come across as far as the Vr6 variations. So let's jump right to bolting these onto a motor. Okay, here we're starting with the rear motor mount. You can see I've already got the bushings pushed in. You can push these bushings in by hand. Just make sure that you push the bushings in and then grease and put your pin in second. Don't try and put the pin in with one of the bushings. You'll struggle with it quite a bit. As far as how these are oriented, you can see this tab here on the block side. I've got this about 11 o'clock. As long as you are somewhere around 12 or 11 o'clock and you don't have this extra piece up against the block, it won't fight you any. Other than that, it really doesn't matter. This is a centered bushing, so you can't put it in upside down or anything else like that. So now we'll use the stainless hardware, attach it to the block, and we're ready to go. Now our motor mount is attached, and let's move on to the transmission. Okay, so here we have our transmission mount. This is going to fit obviously the O2A or O2J transmission. I'm using an O2A case, O2J tower. That's going to cover as many variables as I can in one video. With the O2J tower, if you're using the cable clutch system, you're going to want to remove the reverse switch, and we provide a plug to go in its place. Here's your plug. It just threads in 6mm Allen. We'll run it down, and once it's in there flush, snug it up a hair, and then you're ready to continue on with your mount. If you have an O2J, these mount holes are threaded. You will want to drill them out so that they are like the O2As, and your bolts pass all the way through. With an O2A case, you're going to get a shim. It's going to go right here. Set your mount over top, and then feed your bolt through. Your other bolt. Finally, your cable tab, if you have it or need it. If you don't, then obviously you won't be using it. Set your nuts on and then tighten everything down, and you're done with your trans mount. So here's your core support brace that we did not cover in the overview, but I'll be showing you how it goes in the car here shortly. But I just wanted to be pictured with this front mount that would be included as your fourth mount. The fourth mount uses the OEM cup from the Rabbit or Mark 1, and then this is the mount we provide. We also provide this urethane bushing. The only thing to note about the urethane bushing is, since we have a solid bar on our front pivot, you may want to drill a hole in the end of the rubber bushing that we provide, or the poly bushing that we provide. Otherwise, you're just trying to push a pocket of air, and you'll have a hard time compressing it and keeping it to stay on. It'll end up shooting off like a little rocket. So that's about the only install tip on that. I generally try to install these with the cup already in place, and you're going to want to do this in the car, but I'm going to show you where it's going to go on the motor here in the floor so that you get a little better view, because in the car it's going to be a little cramped. So we'll get a better picture here. All right, on a 12 valve, this is really straightforward. You're going to use the upper starter bolt that we provide, and it's going to go through the upper starter mount and through the top of this mount that we provide, and then you just attach the also provided nut, tighten it down, and then use the factory transmission bolt on the lower portion of this mount. On a 24 valve, the block casing is different. You'll actually have a spacer right here between our mount and the block. Still same install process, but you will have this little spacer for any 24 valve motor. The rear diff mount is another one that we are going to install in the car. It will be the third mount that you install, the first one you're going to install in the car. This is the orientation of it in the car. It's going to be a little easier to see how it goes on the differential itself, but the very three bottom bolts through the case of the differential is what this bracket is going to mount to. This mounts to the original lower transmission mount on the body of the Mark I itself. All of our downpipes are stainless. They come with all the hardware needed to install them. This is your collector gasket and bolts. These are your manifold gasket and the nuts to attach them. We have a single O2 sensor, stainless flex, and I generally like to install these when I'm installing them from underneath beforehand, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on, but it's real simple. Just bolt it where it's supposed to go, but you can install it in car as well if that's easier for you. I am installing this on the ground just to go over that you can do it on the ground. I will have a couple tips for doing it on the ground versus on a lift. That's coming up a little later. All right, so here's our core support brace. You can see that it uses the frame rails as its extra gusset. It attaches to the original center mount and the core support. I have this held in here with one bolt just because I don't have the bumper bolts in this car. Normally I would tell you to put the bumper bolts in, but I need to work without this bumper on the car for a little bit, so it's temporary in here so you can see how it mounts. There should have been two black shims for you. Those actually slide into the bumper guides to keep you from crushing this little sleeve here. If your car's been wrecked or a core support's been replaced, you may or may not need them. This car's had a core support off of it. It's a little snug with those shims in there, so I'm probably going to take them out and not install them for when I do this for the final time.